He was a man who could buy an entire city block with a snap of his fingers. Yet there he was, sitting on a freezing concrete sidewalk, wrapped in a torn, dirty blanket. Victor Blackwood, a billionaire tech tycoon, was pretending to be a homeless beggar. He wanted to see the true colors of humanity. He wanted to know if anyone would care for a man who had absolutely nothing. For hours, hundreds of people walked past him. They ignored his outstretched hand. Some even sneered in disgust. Victor's heart was sinking. He was ready to give up on the world. But then, a tiny, 3-year-old girl in a faded jacket stopped right in front of him. What she did next didn't just shock the billionaire. It completely changed the trajectory of his life, his fortune, and a struggling young mother's destiny forever. Welcome back to our channel, where we bring you the most heartwarming and inspiring stories from all around the world. Before we dive into today's incredible journey, please take a quick moment to subscribe to our channel. It helps us bring you more stories, just like this one. Also, we would love to know our community better. Please drop a comment below and tell us, where in the world are you watching this video from? We read every single comment. Now let's begin our story. Victor Blackwood was 62 years old, and he was tired. To the corporate world, he was a giant. He owned massive tech companies, real estate empires, and more money than he could spend in 10 lifetimes. His name was whispered in the highest circles of power. But inside his massive, 20-bedroom mansion, Victor felt entirely empty. 2 years ago, Victor's beloved wife, Eleanor, had passed away. They never had children. When Eleanor died, part of Victor died with her. Suddenly, the shiny boardrooms and the billions in the bank felt meaningless. He looked around his life and realized a harsh truth. He was surrounded by people, but he was completely alone. His lawyers, his executives, and even his distant relatives all smiled at him. But Victor knew the truth. They didn't love him. They loved his checkbook. They were all waiting for him to pass away so they could grab a piece of his massive empire. This realization made Victor deeply cynical. He began to believe that true kindness had vanished from the world. He believed that people only cared about money, power, and status. One rainy Tuesday evening, Victor was looking out the window of his penthouse office. Down below, the streets were crowded. People were rushing home, shielding themselves from the rain. He saw a homeless man sitting under an awning, shivering. Hundreds of people walked right past the man. No one looked at him. No one offered a hand. A strange, radical idea planted itself in Victor's mind. He wanted to test humanity. He wanted to strip away his expensive tailored suit, his luxury watch, and his famous name. He wanted to see how the world would treat him if he was just another invisible soul on the street. His chief of security, a loyal man named Marcus, begged him not to do it. "Sir, it is dangerous," Marcus warned. "The streets are harsh. You could get hurt." But Victor was determined. "I need to know, Marcus," Victor said softly. "I need to know if there is any genuine goodness left in this world, or if we are all just monsters wearing expensive clothes." The next morning, the transformation began. Victor did not shave for 2 weeks. He let his gray beard grow wild and unkempt. He bought old, stained clothes from a thrift store. He ripped the knees of the jeans and rubbed dirt into the fabric of a faded oversized jacket. He left his phone, his credit cards, and his wallet in his mansion. He took only a battered tin cup and a cardboard box. To the rest of the world, Victor Blackwood vanished for a few days. He told his board of directors that he was going on a private retreat. In a way he was, but his retreat was on the cold, unforgiving pavement of the city's downtown district. The first day on the street was a massive shock to Victor's system. The concrete was freezing. The wind cut right through his thin, tattered blanket. But the physical discomfort was nothing compared to the emotional pain. For the first time in his life, Victor became invisible. People he had successfully done business with walked right past him. They looked straight through him as if he were made of glass. When he held out his tin cup, people actively moved away. They crossed the street just to avoid walking near him. He saw expressions of disgust, annoyance, and pure indifference. By midday, Victor's stomach was growling. He hadn't eaten since the previous night. He walked into a small bakery, hoping to ask for a piece of stale bread. The young cashier looked at his dirty clothes and immediately frowned. "Get out," the cashier said loudly. "You're scaring the paying customers. We don't give handouts here." Victor stepped back onto the street. His heart felt heavy. His cynicism was being proven right. The world was a cruel, selfish place. Money was the only thing that bought respect. Without it, you were less than human in the eyes of society. He sat back down on his cardboard mat, leaning against a cold brick wall. He closed his eyes, feeling a deep sense of despair. A few miles away, in a cramped, tiny basement apartment, a young woman named Cassandra was waking up. Cassandra was 24 years old, and her life was a daily battle for survival. She was a single mother to a beautiful, bright-eyed 3-year-old girl named Luna. Cassandra's life had not been easy. Her parents had passed away when she was young. Luna's father had abandoned them the moment he found out Cassandra was pregnant. Cassandra was entirely on her own, but she didn't let bitterness take over. She looked at Luna, with her curly brown hair and innocent smile, and found the strength to keep going. Cassandra worked as a maid for a luxury cleaning service. She cleaned the massive apartments of the wealthy. She scrubbed their toilets, polished their marble floors, and dusted their expensive art pieces. She earned minimum wage. Almost every single dollar she made went toward rent, heating, and cheap groceries. Lately, things had gotten much worse. Luna had caught a bad fever a few weeks prior. Cassandra had to buy expensive medicine, which took away her rent money. Her landlord was a ruthless man named Mr. Henderson. He had already given her a final notice. If she didn't pay the remaining balance of her rent by the end of the week, she and Luna would be thrown out onto the streets. Despite the crushing stress, Cassandra never complained in front of her daughter. She made sure Luna always felt loved. They didn't have money for expensive toys. Luna's favorite possession in the whole world was a small, faded plastic teddy bear. It was missing one button eye, and the brown paint was peeling off. Cassandra had found it at a yard sale for 50 cents. Luna named the bear Barnaby. She took him everywhere. Barnaby was her protector, her best friend, and her comfort. That morning, Cassandra wrapped Luna in a warm, though slightly small, winter coat. Cassandra's cleaning shift that day was at a large corporate building downtown. She couldn't afford daycare, so she often had to bring Luna with her, letting the little girl sit quietly in the break rooms while she worked. The manager usually turned a blind eye, as long as Luna was silent. Cassandra looked at her reflection in the cracked mirror. She looked exhausted. Dark circles cradled her eyes, but she forced a smile for Luna. "Ready for an adventure today, sweetie?" she asked. Luna giggled, holding Barnaby tightly against her chest. "Yes, Mommy. Barnaby is ready too." The afternoon air was biting cold. Victor had been sitting on the sidewalk for 6 hours. His legs were numb. His tin cup remained completely empty. Not a single penny had been dropped into it. He was shivering violently. He was seriously considering calling Marcus to come pick him up. He had seen enough. The experiment was over, and humanity had failed. Just as Victor was about to stand up, he saw a young woman walking down the sidewalk. She was holding the hand of a little girl. The woman looked tired, her shoulders slumped with the weight of the world, but she was speaking softly to her daughter, smiling down at her. As they approached Victor's spot on the sidewalk, the little girl suddenly stopped. Cassandra stopped too, looking down at her daughter. "What's wrong, Luna?" she asked gently. Luna didn't answer. Her wide, innocent eyes were fixed entirely on Victor. She didn't look at his dirty clothes with disgust. She didn't look at his tangled beard with fear. She just saw an old man who was shivering, alone and sad. Victor looked up, meeting the little girl's gaze. For the first time in days, someone was actually looking at him, truly looking at him. Cassandra noticed Victor too. Her heart ached. She knew what it felt like to be on the brink of ruin. She knew how terrifying poverty was. She reached into her pocket, searching for anything she could give. She pulled out her entire fortune for the day. A single, crumpled $5 bill. It was meant to buy her a cheap sandwich for lunch. Cassandra knelt down in front of Victor. She gently placed the $5 bill into his empty tin cup. "I'm sorry, it's not much," Cassandra said, her voice filled with genuine warmth. "But please, buy yourself something hot to drink. It's too cold to be out here like this." Victor was stunned. He looked at the $5 bill. then up at Cassandra. He could see the weariness in her eyes. He could tell by her worn-out shoes and faded coat that she didn't have money to spare. Yet, she was giving him her lunch money. "Thank you, dear," Victor croaked. His voice was raspy from the cold, but his words were deeply sincere. "You have a kind heart." But the moment didn't end there. Luna was still standing there, watching the interaction. She looked at the $5 bill in the cup. Then, she looked at Victor's shivering hands. She knew what it was like to feel cold. She knew what it was like to need comfort. Slowly, Luna stepped forward. She loosened her grip on her precious plastic teddy bear, Barnaby. Cassandra watched her daughter, wondering what she was doing. Luna walked right up to Victor. With her tiny hands, she extended the faded, one-eyed plastic bear toward the billionaire. "Here," Luna said in her sweet, high-pitched toddler voice. "This is Barnaby. He keeps me safe when I'm scared. He will keep you warm and happy. You can keep him." Victor froze. He stared at the little plastic toy. He knew enough about children to know how much they treasured their toys. He could see how worn the toy was, meaning it was loved deeply. This little girl was offering him her most prized possession. She was giving her only toy to a dirty stranger on the street, just to make him feel better. A sudden, overwhelming wave of emotion crashed over Victor. Tears pricked the corners of his eyes. For weeks, he had felt nothing but bitterness and despair. In a single second, this innocent toddler had shattered his cynicism. "Oh, sweet child," Victor whispered, his voice trembling. "I cannot take your toy. He is your friend." "No, it's okay," Luna insisted, pushing the toy firmly into Victor's dirty hand. "Barnaby wants to stay with you today. He told me so." Cassandra smiled tears into her own eyes. She didn't stop her daughter. She didn't tell her that they couldn't afford to replace the toy. She simply embraced her daughter's pure generosity. Cassandra looked at Victor. "Please take him. If he can bring a smile to your face, then he is doing his job." Victor held the small plastic bear tightly in his palm. It felt heavier than a block of pure gold. "Thank you," Victor choked out, a tear finally escaping and rolling down his dirty cheek. "Thank you both. You have no idea what this means to me." Cassandra gave him a final, comforting nod, took Luna's hand, and they continued walking down the street toward the corporate building. Victor watched them until they disappeared around the corner. He looked down at the plastic bear in his hand. The experiment was over, but the result wasn't what he expected. Humanity hadn't failed. It had just been hiding in the hearts of those who had the least to give. Victor immediately stood up. He didn't care about the cold anymore. He walked to a nearby payphone and dialed a number he knew by heart. Within 10 minutes, a sleek black luxury SUV pulled up to the curb. Marcus, the chief of security, stepped out, holding a warm coat. "Sir, are you all right?" Marcus asked anxiously, rushing over to wrap the coat around Victor's shoulders. "I am more than all right, Marcus," Victor said, his eyes shining with a strange, intense light. "In fact, I think I am finally alive again." As they drove back to his mansion, Victor didn't look at the city skyline. He just stared at the one-eyed plastic bear resting on his lap. As soon as they arrived home, Victor went upstairs, took a hot shower, and shaved his beard. He put on a clean, comfortable suit. But he didn't return to his old life. He had a mission now. He called Marcus into his private study. He placed the plastic bear on his massive mahogany desk. "Marcus, I need you to do something for me," Victor said. "Today, around 2 o'clock, a young woman and her little girl walked down 5th Street. The woman was wearing a faded blue coat. The little girl gave me this toy. I need you to find them. Use every camera feed, every resource we have. Find out who she is, where she lives, and what her situation is. I want a full report by tomorrow morning." Marcus nodded respectfully. "Right away, Mr. Blackwood." Marcus was an expert at his job, with the resources of a billionaire corporation. It didn't take long. By 8 o'clock the next morning, a neat manila folder was sitting on Victor's desk. Victor opened the folder and began to read. His heart broke as he learned the details of Cassandra's life. He read about her minimum wage job. He read about her childhood as an orphan. He read about her struggle to pay for her daughter's medicine. And finally, he saw the eviction notice from her landlord, scheduled to take effect in just 3 days. Victor slammed the folder shut. He felt a deep sense of anger at how unfair the world was. A woman with a heart of pure gold was about to be thrown onto the street with her innocent child, while greedy people lived in luxury. Victor leaned back in his leather chair. A slow smile spread across his face. "Marcus," he called out, "get the car ready. We have some shopping to do. And call my legal team. I have a very specific project for them." 2 days later, Cassandra was sitting on the edge of her small bed, burying her face in her hands. She was crying silently, trying not to wake Luna, who was sleeping peacefully. It was Friday. The landlord, Mr. Henderson, had been clear. If she didn't have the remaining $400 by 5 o'clock today, her things would be put on the sidewalk. Cassandra had tried everything. She had asked her boss for an advance, but he had coldly refused. She had tried to apply for emergency assistance, but the paperwork would take weeks to process. She had no one else to turn to. She looked at the small toy box in the corner. Luna hadn't complained once about giving away Barnaby. Instead, the little girl had been happy, constantly telling her mom that the sad grandpa was being looked after by her bear. Cassandra smiled through her tears, marveling at her daughter's beautiful soul. But the reality of their situation was terrifying. Where would they go tonight? A homeless shelter? The streets? Suddenly, a loud, aggressive knock echoed through the small apartment. Cassandra jumped. Her heart raced. She knew who it was. She walked over and opened the door. Standing there was Mr. Henderson. He was a heavy-set man with a permanent scowl on his face. He held a clipboard in his hand. "Time's up, Cassandra," Mr. Henderson said rudely, not even bothering to step inside. "Do you have my money, or do I need to start carrying your couch out to the trash?" "Please, Mr. Henderson," Cassandra begged, her voice cracking. "Just give me a few more days. I get paid next Wednesday. I will give you every single dime, plus extra for the trouble. Please, don't throw my daughter out into the cold." Mr. Henderson laughed coldly. "I've heard that story 100 times. This is a business, not a charity. You don't pay. You don't stay. You have 1 hour to pack your bags, or I'm calling the police to remove you." Cassandra felt a wave of complete helplessness wash over her. She wanted to scream, to fight, but she had no power. She closed her eyes, preparing herself for the worst day of her life. But before Mr. Henderson could say another word, the sound of heavy footsteps echoed down the hallway of the basement building. "I believe there's a slight change of plans, Mr. Henderson." A powerful, calm voice boomed through the corridor. Cassandra and the landlord both turned their heads in shock. Walking down the dim, dingy hallway was a tall, sharply dressed older man. He wore an immaculate, expensive charcoal suit. His shoes shone like glass. Behind him stood a large, serious-looking man in a black suit, carrying a sleek leather briefcase. Cassandra blinked. There was something strangely familiar about the older man's eyes, but she couldn't place it. He looked like a king walking into a dungeon. Mr. Henderson frowned, feeling intimidated, but trying to hide it. "Who are you? This is private property. Get out of here." The older man stopped right in front of them. He gave Mr. Henderson a look of pure disdain. "My name is Victor Blackwood, and as of exactly 20 minutes ago, this entire apartment building is no longer your property. It belongs to me." Mr. Henderson's jaw dropped. "What? That's impossible. I own this place." The man with the briefcase stepped forward, opening it and pulling out a legal document. "Actually, Mr. Henderson, your mortgage was held by a local bank that Mr. Blackwood's conglomerate completely purchased this morning. We also bought out your equity at a premium you couldn't refuse. Here are the signed deeds and transfer papers. You are no longer the landlord. In fact, you are fired." Mr. Henderson grabbed the papers, his hands shaking as he scanned the legal seals. His face turned completely pale. He looked at Victor, his arrogance instantly evaporating into fear. He knew the name Victor Blackwood. Everyone did. "Now," Victor said, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper, "I suggest you leave this building immediately. If I ever catch you harassing any of the tenants here again, my legal team will ensure you spend the next decade tied up in lawsuits. Do you understand me?" Mr. Henderson didn't say a word. He grabbed his clipboard, turned on his heel, and practically ran down the hallway. Terrified of the billionaire's wrath, Cassandra stood in the doorway, completely frozen. She couldn't believe what had just happened. It felt like a scene out of a movie. She looked at the wealthy man standing before her, feeling a mixture of awe and confusion. "Sir, I don't know what to say," Cassandra stammered. "Thank you for stopping him. But why did you do that? Who are you?" Victor smiled gently. The harsh, powerful aura he had used against the landlord instantly vanished. He reached into his coat pocket. When he pulled his hand out, he was holding a small, faded plastic teddy bear with one button eye. Cassandra's eyes went wide. She gasped, covering her mouth with her hands. She looked from the toy to Victor's face. She looked closely at his gray hair and his deep, wise eyes. "It's you," Cassandra whispered, her voice trembling with disbelief. The man on the sidewalk, the sad grandpa. "Yes, Cassandra, it's me," Victor said softly. "My name is Victor. A few days ago, I was lost. I had lost faith in humanity. I thought everyone in this world was selfish and cruel. I dressed in rags and sat on the cold street to see if anyone would care. Hundreds of wealthy, successful people ignored me. But then, you and your beautiful daughter stopped." Victor stepped closer, holding Barnaby gently. "You gave me your lunch money when you barely had enough for yourselves. And your daughter gave me her most precious treasure just to keep me warm. In that moment, your daughter didn't just give me a toy. She saved my soul. She showed me that there is still pure, unconditional love left in this world." Cassandra felt tears pouring down her cheeks. This time, they weren't tears of sadness or fear. They were tears of pure shock and overwhelming relief. Just then, Luna woke up from her nap. She rubbed her eyes and walked to the doorway, clutching her mother's leg. She looked up at the tall man in the beautiful suit. She squinted her eyes, studying his face. Suddenly, a massive smile broke across Luna's face. "Grandpa," she cheered, pointing her tiny finger at Victor. "You look clean, and you have Barnaby." Victor knelt down on the dirty hallway floor, completely unbothered by what it might do to his expensive suit. He smiled warmly at the little girl. "Yes, sweetie, I have Barnaby. He kept me very safe, just like you said he would. And now, I came back to return him to his rightful owner." Victor gently handed the plastic bear back to Luna. Luna grabbed the toy, hugging it tightly to her chest. "Thank you, Grandpa." Victor stood back up and turned to Cassandra. "Cassandra, your days of worrying about rent, medicine, and survival are officially over." Marcus stepped forward and handed Victor a new set of documents. Victor presented them to Cassandra. "What is this?" Cassandra asked, her hand shaking as she took the papers. "This is the deed to a beautiful, fully furnished 4-bedroom house in a quiet, safe suburban neighborhood," Victor explained. "It is registered entirely in your name. There is no mortgage. There is no rent. It belongs to you and Luna forever." Cassandra gasped, shaking her head. No, sir, I can't accept this. This is far too much. It was just a small toy and a few dollars." "To you, it was a small act of kindness," Victor interrupted gently, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "To me, it was a priceless gift. But that is not all. I also looked into your background. I know you work incredibly hard. My charitable foundation is opening a brand new community support center next week. I need someone with deep empathy, organizational skills, and a true heart to manage it. The position is yours, if you want it. It comes with a very generous salary, full health care for you and Luna, and flexible hours, so you can always be there for your daughter." Cassandra couldn't speak. The sheer weight of financial terror that had crushed her chest for years instantly evaporated. She fell to her knees, weeping openly. Victor knelt down beside her, offering his comfort. Luna wrapped her tiny arms around both of them, holding her plastic bear tightly. Moving day came quickly. Cassandra and Luna said goodbye to their dark basement apartment forever. When they arrived at their new home, Luna gasped in pure delight. The backyard had a beautiful wooden swing set. Inside, her new bedroom was painted a cheerful yellow, filled with books, clothes, and a brand new, giant plush teddy bear. But despite all the new, beautiful things, Luna still kept her little plastic bear, Barnaby, proudly displayed on her nightstand. Cassandra excelled at her new job. For the first time in her life, she wasn't just surviving, she was thriving. She helped hundreds of other struggling families in the community, passing on the kindness she had received. As for Victor, his life was completely transformed. He didn't return to his lonely, isolated existence in his mansion. He became a regular fixture in Cassandra and Luna's lives. He became the honorary grandfather Luna had always called him. He spent his weekends at their house, laughing, playing games, and watching Luna grow. Victor finally found a purpose for his massive fortune. He began funding shelters, food banks, and programs to help single mothers get back on their feet. He realized that the true value of money wasn't in how much you could hoard, but in how many lives you could change with it. One evening, Victor was sitting on the porch of Cassandra's house, watching Luna play on the swings. Cassandra walked out, handing him a warm cup of tea. "Are you happy, Victor?" Cassandra asked softly, sitting down in the chair next to him. Victor looked at the beautiful home, looked at the happy little girl laughing in the yard, and felt a deep, profound peace in his chest. He took a sip of his tea and smiled. "Cassandra, for a long time, I thought my life ended when my wife passed away," Victor said, his voice filled with emotion. "I thought the world was dark and empty. But a tiny girl with a broken plastic toy showed me the light. I am more than happy. I am finally home." This beautiful story reminds us that true wealth has nothing to do with the balance in a bank account. True wealth is found in the kindness we show to others, the empathy we carry in our hearts, and the willingness to give, even when we have very little. A simple, pure act of love from a child completely changed a billionaire's life and rescued a family from despair. Never underestimate the power of a small act of kindness. You never know whose life you might be changing forever. Thank you so much for watching this story today. We hope it brought a smile to your face and warmed your heart. If you haven't already, please remember to subscribe to our channel so you never miss another inspiring tale. And don't forget to leave a comment below, letting us know where you are watching from. Have a beautiful, blessed day. And remember to spread a little kindness wherever you go. We will see you in the next video.